Welcome in to the Under the Hood podcast with me, Jonathan Hood. Thanks so much for checking out the podcast, whether it is on Facebook or on YouTube or on Twitch. We are live. Thanks so much for being with me, along with my crazy cousin, Wiley. Wiley, good Monday to you, sir. How are you?
I am doing well, Cuzzo. How you feeling?
I feel great, man. After that Super Bowl, we've got no football. Now we
Right.
have anything. Now we got the Super Bowl. Now we have no football. Now we have the offseason to talk about. But before we get into everything, we have a number of side stories that we want to provide for you here on the show. But also, we'll talk about the Super Bowl that took place. And by the way, leave your comments on our chat, whether it's on Facebook or on YouTube or on Twitch. Leave your comments. We will read your comments throughout the show. We will talk about the Super Bowl. And like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. You guys are on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, there's stars there. Leave some stars so people know that, hey, Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood is live on every Monday with J Hood and Cousin Wiley. Same thing on Facebook. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our podcast as well. We want to continue to grow in 2024. We appreciate you checking us out either live or taped or wherever you watch it. Thanks so much for checking it out. We've got merchandise as well, Cuzzo.
Yes, we have the Under the Hood hoodie. Yes, and with Valentine's Day, right around the corner, you would like to. This is a great item to have when you're going under your wife's hood or your mistress hood. It's a great hoodie to have.
Oh my God!
Give it to her to put it on, and then go under that hood and take it off. Get yourself an Under the Hood hoodie. Carolina blue, baby.
Yeah. Tell the person that's been wearing it in your house, you wear it on the top of your body, not the bottom. I'm not sure why it smells like that, but just wear it over the top, not around the waist. Very odd, but nonetheless.
All right. And then we also have the Under the Hood tumbler. Now this tumbler is great. This tumbler is great. You can use it for coffee, for tea, a little alcohol, or if you're having a hard time sleeping, you can get yourself some warm milk, whether 2% whole milk, 1%, or even breast milk if that's what you like. But you can use this for whatever you want. If you need warm milk to sleep, put it inside this Under the Hood tumbler. It's great for whatever you need. Get yourself two. Get one for yourself. Get one for your spouse.
Well, you can tell where Wiley's taste buds have been. That he can just breast milk. But go ahead.
Yes. Very thirsty. And then we have the Under the Hood water bottle. So if you're like me and you just love water, get yourself one of these. You can refill it with your either bottled water. You don't have to carry around the plastic, or your filtered water, or if you want soda, juice, or even if you want to look like you're being active, put your alcohol in here. Get yourself one of these. It's going to stay nice and cold, and you have a great beverage to keep this in. And it's virtually indestructible. So you want to have this, in your office, in your gym, or just hanging around inside your car. Get yourself a couple.
Yes. Also, you could beat somebody over the head with it if you like to.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. If you don't have a little bat inside your car, and you need to have a conversation with someone, use your Under the Hood water bottle. And then my favorite, your favorite, the Under the Hood T-shirt. This is smells like success. So get yourself an Under the Hood T-shirt. They come in a variety of colors. Get all the colors. I think it's something great to have. You can wash a million times without issue. And support the show. Under the Hood.
Yes. So support your favorite podcast, Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. If you're watching live, it's available now. You can go to my link tree right there that's rolling at the bottom. You can't miss it because it keeps rolling on the scroll like a Jerry Lewis telethon. It just keeps going. So underneath the bottom here, you go to the link tree and you'll be able to get your merchandise right there. Super Bowl taking place in Las Vegas. Man, I was watching the coverage, Cuzzo, and I was thinking, man, I feel like we should be there. I mean, in Las Vegas, Super Bowl, I know the tickets are outrageous, but I can always find a way to get in. 25-22, Kansas City with the victory in overtime. And so all day, or even since last night, people are talking about Patrick Mahomes. And I tried to expand the conversation this morning on Cap and J Hood. I'm on there weekday morning, 7 to 10 on ESPN 1000. You can download the ESPN Chicago app. I try to expand the conversation about Patrick Mahomes beyond football because I think it's very clear that he is the face of football right now. The face of football, the best quarterback going right now. We can have the debate on whether or not he is the greatest of all time. We could talk about that. It's hard for me to go there while he's still playing, but I try to expand the conversation, as I always do, by talking about Patrick Mahomes as far as other athletes are concerned. So he's 28 years old. He has now 15 playoff wins. Cuzzo. He's trailing only Tom Brady and Joe Montana for the most by a quarterback since 1950. He's got 3 championships. He's got 3 rings and 2 league MVPs. He walks with Larry Bird, Guy Lafleur in hockey, Bill Russell, Mickey Mantle, Stan Musial, and Joe DiMaggio. Those are old names from the 30s, 40s, and 50s when it comes to baseball. 3 championships and 2 league MVPs in the first 7 seasons of his career. I mean, he's no one's gotten there faster than Patrick Mahomes. So thinking about it from that standpoint, quarterback, we can have the conversation. But as far as all-time athlete, to be able to get those accolades so quickly, that's faster than Jordan. That says a lot.
Yeah. So what's that Jay-Z line? I'm going to use it for Mahomes. Don't call him Mahomes, more call him the blueprint. Yep. That's what he is. He's the blueprint for, how you can have sustained success. Plumbers and electricians and win Super Bowls with those guys as receivers. And he's been praised for that, he was praised for that throughout his career. We just saw Mahomes, take it another level, because even when Brady was winning a lot of those Super Bowls, his receivers were like suspect, but he had a solid offensive line. He had a line who can give him time to throw the ball to those plumbers and electricians. Mahomes, both of his tackles are suspect. Both his left tackles are not elite left tackles. They're average at best left tackles, left and right tackles. And you have a running back who is, maybe an average to slightly above average running back. You have an aging superstar tight end, but his best days are definitely behind him. And then you have an up and coming something in Rashee Rice, but that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. He has nothing on offense. So that's a case of a guy when you lift all boats. Like, I'm not sure, how much his teammates are sharing with him, but each one of them, they owe him at least 10% of the checks. At least 10% of the checks on offense, because that guy put them all on his back and carried them to a Super Bowl by himself. Like, he did what we've seen Michael Jordan do, when he was at his peak, what we saw Tiger Woods do, on Sundays. That's the blueprint. That's a blueprint of what you want when it comes to quarterbacking your organization. You want a guy like that who can lift and elevate its entire team, especially offensively, regardless of how much talent is around them. So watching that, we talked about this last night too. I'm normally like, hey, don't bet against Mahomes. Mahomes is the guy you don't bet against. And then naturally, I bet against Mahomes.
Of course. Of course. Counterculture. Of course.
Of course.
Of course. I mean, I told you, don't bet against Patrick Mahomes. Look, I did it twice. Cuzzo, I did it twice. Not the Miami game, obviously, but you think about against the Ravens. I thought this was Lamar Jackson's time.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. The Bills, I bet against Mahomes, because both of those games with the Bills and the Ravens were on the road. And so I thought, okay, take a step back and then step forward, for 2025. Not the case, though. This right here is the most impressive championship for Patrick Mahomes because of everything they've gone through. I've laid it out about no Eric Bieniemy, Taylor Swift hanging around. The guys dropping passes. His wide receivers are dropping passes. Even Travis Kelce, not necessarily Travis Kelce. The defense is the reason why they made it to the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes is the reason why they won it. The defense has been so impressive under Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator. But I'm impressed, Cuzzo, because when you needed to make a play, Mahomes was like, you know what? I can't trust these dudes. I know that he will say, I love my guys. They're great. I got no problem. All that stuff, right? But I know he was like, especially in the overtime period, he's like, I can't trust Isaiah Pacheco to run the football in this spot. He might drop Hardman and Watson and Rashee Rice. They're decent players, but he's like, I got to make these plays. I got to put ourselves in a position to score here because I can't trust these guys because I don't want them dropping the football. Now, this is not dire like the Bears as far as weapons, but these guys have betrayed Mahomes too often. And he's like, I got here this far. I'm pushing the ball into the end zone and making sure that we score and win this game. So I'm impressed that this team has not even been the Kansas City Chiefs that we've seen in the past as far as dominance, but they were able to get to a point where they can win the Super Bowl. I love what I saw there.
No, I did as well. And here's why I picked against them, even though I knew not to do it. It was primarily because everyone was picking them to win. And usually when you have the masses backing one team, even though it's on paper is really close, it makes you pause like, maybe this isn't the way to go because everyone is backing them. And, in general, the books never lose, so if you have 70+% of the people backing this one team, the books are going to take a beating off of this game if they win. So it's like, hey, let me go the opposite way. And I know there were things that broke against, San Francisco, the McCaffrey fumble, the muff punt, the missed extra point, and all those things. But in the end, as we're texting back and forth, and I was saying to you then, it was like, if Mahomes if they don't score a touchdown right now, the game is over.
Yeah.
They need a touchdown right now or the game is over because Mahomes gets the ball back. He's going to score a touchdown. There is no field goal. There is just a touchdown. That's it. So, and he did it because it's what you're saying. Like you would have done it in regulation if there was like an extra 10 seconds left. The game is over in regulation because the guy is just that good where he's going to, in those key moments, he's going to do what the legends do. He's going to put everything on his back. He's going to carry a mediocre at best offensive team across the finish line. It's impressive. Like I said, like that guy's the blueprint. And I will never, well, for now, maybe if the Bears played him, I'll still bet my heart. But outside of the Bears playing against them, I will never bet against Mahomes to lose any big game again in my life.
Well, they take on the Bears again. I didn't know that you had that kind of disposable income that you could just throw it in the furnace and let it burn. I mean, are you serious?
Well, so here's the truth. Like I can't say what I did, but it wasn't a bad season for me when it came to wagers. I'll just put it like that.
What did you do?
I didn't have a bad season betting football games. So, but I don't like to bet the Bears. I don't like to bet Chicago because I want to bet my heart, and that's usually a recipe for disaster. So I avoid Chicago wagers because it doesn't work out well.
Well, I mean, your analysis is strange because once again, the Chiefs were the underdog, and I took the Chiefs. It was 1.5. I have right here the underdog Chiefs and the under 47.5. So I thought it was an easy bet because I'm never betting against Patrick Mahomes again. So that's why I'm just like, hey man, if anyone's gonna push it up and over, it's gonna be Patrick Mahomes because I was betting against him before. It's the Bills. I thought it was Josh Allen's time. That team was better in the second half of the season to the point where they got to the playoffs. The same thing with Lamar Jackson. Yeah, it's great individual achievement that you got MVPs. I got no problem with Lamar Jackson, but what about the team? You gonna be able to get to that spot again, get to the Super Bowl? I mean, that's the whole thing. And so
I did the reverse though. Like
yeah,
I backed them with the Bills. I backed them with the Ravens. It was like because everyone went against them in those games too. Like the public was backing the Ravens, the public was backing the Bills. So I backed Mahomes. But then I had, sometimes you think you're smarter than you are. It's like, well, Mahomes, Purdy, Mahomes, or Reed, Shanahan. I know that the Chiefs have the edge, but everyone is backing the Chiefs. That just can't be. Go against them.
Yeah, I mean, it was close enough. And by the way, San Francisco almost won that game. I'll just put a bow on Mahomes in Kansas City and just say this. Like, Patrick Mahomes, and here's a stat, Cuzzo. Patrick Mahomes is the 5th quarterback to win at least 3 Super Bowls, joining Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw. Even though it doesn't look like it, Bradshaw was a bad man at one point in time. And Troy Aikman. And the 3rd to do so within his first 7 seasons, joining Brady and Aikman. Mahomes now has won 3 Super Bowls and 2 NFL MVP awards, joining Brady and Montana as the only players to reach those marks. Again, in 7 seasons, that's 4 fewer than Brady and 5 fewer than Montana. So, I mean, he's right there. Think about it. At 3 Super Bowls, 2 NFL MVPs, Mahomes, Brady, Montana. That's the list. I mean, that puts him in greatness. And by the way, this is not like football's change or football's softer. So like you could say for like basketball, for instance, right? You say, well, it's a different game. It's not as physical. So you can be able to have a lot of accolades and break a lot of records. And that's why people put a spotlight on LeBron. Like, yeah, LeBron, you surpassed Kareem, but you didn't have to go through the rigors of the league as far as physicality and road travel and all that stuff. You can say that. I don't agree with that, but people do say that. But football is football. And when you're able to win like this, man, the game has not changed so much where it's like, well, softer league, you can just get through it. Like, no, you had to earn your way to the Super Bowl. That's football.
Yeah. And what impresses me about what Mahomes and Reed they've done together is that you've seen Reed sort of in that Kyle Shanahan mode for a chunk of his career, where he could lead you there, but he couldn't finish the job.
Yeah,
he just constantly coming up. He was what you call with the bridesmaid or whatever. Just constantly the bridesmaid, and then you see them get over the hump. And then you watch Kyle Shanahan, and I know he's only like 44, 45, so he's relatively young coach. But you see what happens with a lot of guys, as talented of a coach as he is, in those big moments, he's a bad weather. So whenever the game gets tight, for whatever reason, he's going to make critical decisions that negatively impact his team and that cost 3 team Super Bowls, because he was up against Mahomes with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, 10 points in the 4th quarter. Wet the bed. Up against Brady. What? At your house, watch a Super Bowl in the Hood Cave.
Yeah.
What, like 20 points. Wet the bed.
Yeah.
Again, just critical decision after critical decision, he pisses himself. There was no reason in overtime to not go for it on 4th down. Like, to not go for touchdown. It should have been touchdown or bust, because you had to know you give Mahomes the ball back. You give Brady the ball back. They're going to score a touchdown and win the game. There is no field goal. There's touchdown only, nothing else. And that's what happened.
It's tripped out because we come to find out when you talk to some of the players from San Francisco, they were not aware of the new overtime rule it's like college, right? They were not aware of the overtime rule. So I'm like, wait a minute, Shanahan, smart coach on the surface, smart coach, right? You've been able to get to a certain level as a coaching staff. Whereas Kansas City practiced and talked about this the week leading into the Super Bowl, some of the 49ers players were not aware. And probably the one that was at the coin flip, because I'm sure that with them winning the toss, I'm sure that the player was told, hey, man, if we win the coin toss, we will get the ball first in overtime. And so the analytics kind of slipped in there where Shanahan, the coach for San Francisco, was like, yeah, if we score here and they score, we're going to get it in sudden death. We have the ball back. And it's kind of like, no, you give Kansas City the opportunity to score first. And I'm not saying that who knows? All I know is that Mahomes and the Chiefs and their back was against the wall. And you don't want to play with Mahomes like that. You don't get into the end zone. You set up for a field goal, and then you see on the other side. Now, here's the thing. For me, it didn't come down to all of that. I mean, there's a lot of things that San Francisco did poorly, but I mean, that decision, you don't want to put that in your hands as a head coach. If you have the ball, you win the toss, defer.
Yeah.
Let them do whatever they're going to do, field goal, touchdown, whatever. But now you have Purdy, who is 5 and diming it down the field, right? I mean, you have McCaffrey to run the football. So if you want to take time off the clock to be able to eventually tie that game or tie the game
win it,
go ahead.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I thought, like, once again in a critical moment he came up short because of his decision making, and as a player that has to concern you because you're like, my coach is great. My coach is great until it matters. When it matters most, then my coach is no longer great. My coach is at best average. And when you're average going up against an Andy Reid, he's going to beat that ass. Like you saw him. He smelled blood in the water. He was excited. He knew what was getting ready to happen, and he, finished the job. Even though he almost got attacked by one of his players, that was concerning right there.
You beat Travis Kelce right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You see him, right? Travis Kelce, Cuzzo. You see this right around the corner? You see this picture? Yeah. I mean, now again, close your eyes. Imagine if that's...
I was going to say, imagine if that was Travis Smith or Tyrone Davis or something like that.
Uh-huh.
He would have been arrested at halftime.
Oh,
they would have came in and dragged him off the field, Like, he almost sent Andy Reid into early retirement right there. Andy Reid almost had a heart attack. This big black man just rushed me and, screamed at me. Can you imagine that? It's like Andy's black man. But no, they said Travis Kelce was passionate. He cares about winning, even though he almost killed his coach on the sideline. Imagine that.
He almost bowled him over. You saw that, right?
Yeah. I was concerned.
Nagy didn't want anything to do with it. Reed didn't want anything to do with it, but he's passionate.
Well, but you know what? Here's the thing about Nagy too. That was, if you wanted to see was Nagy a play caller or not, that was that moment right there told you who the real play caller was. It's Andy Reid. Andy Reid is calling the plays because he didn't go to Nagy and tackle Nagy. He went to the head coach, the guy who was pulling the strings, and said, "Hey, put me out there, call the play for me because, this whoever else isn't getting the job done. I want the ball." So, yeah, I understood it, but I thought the same thing. Was like, hey, if that was Martellus Bennett out there,
who's standing on business. Martellus Bennett,
yeah,
on business.
He would have been in prison. He would have been in prison. So.
I just gotta say this about San Francisco, and again, I know that everyone's coming down on Shanahan because they think, okay, big choke job. Well, I mean, you had an opportunity. You had an opportunity to win the ball game. What I didn't like, and not just the overtime period. There's a couple of mistakes made, and I know that people look at the McCaffrey fumble and just like, okay, that was early in the game, but the little mistakes, the McLeod fumble or the McLeod, I mean, I know. People say, well, it was a deflection. McLeod was around it. I'm just disappointed that the 49ers didn't get a chance to
jump on the ball.
Yeah, just somebody jump on the ball. That didn't happen. McCaffrey with the fumble. And then in the third quarter, you have 3 3-and-outs. And people will say, well, I mean, the overtime was a new game. The point is, though, is that the momentum started to slip on San Francisco. The 3 3-and-outs with Brock Purdy, I think was a factor in the game. And there's 4 or 5 things, Cuzzo, that happened in the game that caused San Francisco to lose it. They had it right there, but you knew even at halftime, as boring the first half was, 10-3 San Francisco, you're like, you know what? Mahomes and those guys are going to get it right because they've been here before. There's no way that Kansas City was going to not score enough to be able to win this ball game. 10-3, I'm like, San Francisco has an opportunity to step on their throats. If it's 17-3, okay, a little different story.
Yeah.
10-3, you're a touchdown and an extra point away. I thought, Kansas City has a chance to win the game.
I did as well. Like, I thought, like, watching that first half, the 49ers dominated the Chiefs in the first half. For the Chiefs to only be down by 7 points going into halftime, getting the ball coming out of halftime, I saw that as a win for the Chiefs because to get outplayed by that much in one half and only be down by a touchdown and you're getting the ball to win. So I thought the Chiefs had the edge coming out at halftime, but to see how poorly the 49ers played in the third quarter, and I mean, it was just crazy. And I know we talk about all day about how many weapons the 49ers have on offense. You can't have number one receivers getting locked down by the opposing team's secondary. So when you have all of your top receivers blanketed by the secondary and they can't get open, I have to question if they're really number one receivers because Deebo Samuel, I know it's an exciting player, but he's more of a football guy than he is a wide receiver. So when you have a McDuffie who can just shadow him and just take him completely out of the game, you're not number one.
You number one. So you don't consider him? You said you consider him more a football guy than a wide receiver. You don't?
Yes.
Receiver.
So I think he's a great football player, but I don't know if he's a great wide receiver because he's like a switch army knife. You can have him do a little bit of everything, and he's going to deliver for you in those moments. But I think if you're asking him run this route as an elite receiver and beat arguably the best corner in the game, he can't do that. But so I thought in those situations, that to me that's coaching because you had to have known, hey, they're probably going to put the best corner in football, this all-pro corner on our best receiver. Maybe we can do some things to scheme him open instead of having him run routes against the best corner in football or arguably the best corner in football. They didn't do that. And then with McCaffrey essentially not showing up in the first half, that put them in a tight spot because now you're asking Purdy to beat the Chiefs with the third wide receiver, and overcome the countless penalties, that killed drive-killing penalties, drive-killing fumbles. I don't know if you can ask Purdy to do that today. Maybe in a couple years, possibly he can do it. Today, no.
It's not too much. But you know what, Cuzzo? It wasn't bad. It wasn't. It wasn't. It was Tyson Bagent on steroids. Like the ability to be able to get the ball down the field, try to not to turn it over. I mean, I know that we hear the term game manager a lot, and by the way, there's no problem with that. If you're a game manager that don't turn the ball over, that's a good thing. He was only sacked one time, so he did have protection on that offensive line, and here's the thing about Purdy, with this team, he doesn't have to be great. I can make the case here tonight that San Francisco was the better football team. San Francisco actually was the better football team. Here's why. Because you saw Mahomes get rattled because he held the ball too long. He's trying to make a play. He was sacked 3 times. Purdy was sacked 1 time. His quarterback rating is not great. It was 70. But you know what? They're not asking him to be Patrick Mahomes. They're asking him to not turn the ball over, hand the ball off to McCaffrey, just be able to get guys like Ayuk and Jennings and Samuel involved. But here's the thing. When you are Brock Purdy, your best weapon is your running back. Why is it that the 49ers got away from running the football in the second half? I do not understand that. Like, that's your best weapon as far as him getting yards. He was 8 for 80 as far as receiving the ball, McCaffrey, and 22 for 80 running the football. Ultimately, that's your best weapon, and you just went away from it. You had 6 or 7 straight passes in the third quarter. Like, why would you get away from that? Because when you run the football, you're taking time off the clock. You're setting up you're doing the run to set up the pass. Doesn't have to be a big pass, but it's got to be a pass to be able to matriculate the offense and keep it moving and all that, right? But again, we talk about Shanahan choking the game away. He's probably kicking his own ass saying, this is my best weapon. Unless McCaffrey's hurt or there's something going on. If he's healthy, this is the Super Bowl, man. You ain't got time to get cute. This is not a game in September. You've got to run the football with McCaffrey, and I don't know why they stopped doing that.
I think that was it. I think he tried. He was playing a game of chess against the Chiefs defensive coordinator Spags, and he was trying to outguess what he was going to do next, and he repeatedly guessed wrong. And like I'm not doubting. Like McCaffrey struggled for a period of time. McCaffrey wasn't doing good. He had a better fourth quarter and overtime than he did, early in the game. But you still have to stick with him because you're still going up against a piss poor run defense. So sort of like what the Ravens did when they got away from it. If you stick with McCaffrey against a bad running defense, eventually they're going to crack, like they did in the fourth quarter and overtime. But if you'd have done that early in the game, maybe they crack in third quarter, maybe they crack in the second quarter, and you're running away with a victory as opposed to sort of playing catch up at the end. So I thought the game plan was poor. I thought the execution from the players was relatively poor, and you can't expect Purdy, because he did play well in the fourth quarter and overtime, but you can't expect him to outplay Mahomes in the fourth quarter and overtime, though. Like that's a difference.
But I think that the operation for the 49ers was better than Kansas City, because even though Kansas City, again, earned their way there, look at the personnel of the 49ers. They made the mistakes that the Chiefs did not. And that just shows you how battle-tested the Chiefs are. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe and comment on this video right here. And again, on Facebook or on YouTube or on Twitch, that's where we are right now every Monday, J Hood and Cousin Wiley. We have something for you guys in a moment, a number of other things we're going to talk about, but the Chiefs win. The dynasty is here for the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's go through some of the comments here. Curtis Jackson's checking in from Farmington, Minnesota. Glad that you are checking in.
What's up, 50?
Jamie Salmons. Was it Salmons? Checking in.
We can call it salmons.
I had a salmon. Hello, I'll take the salmon off. Get off my table. Some girl had been asked me for some salmon. I'm like, I'll be right back. Left there with the bill. That was downtown. Mahomes is the Tiger Woods of football. Yeah, we're talking about the very, very best right now at the top of his game. Curtis Jackson also says that Andy Reid and that coaching staff is a weapon. They can figure out every Scooby-Doo mystery before they do. It's so true, man. It's so true. Give Andy Reid his flowers. It's funny that you say that, because I was talking about Andy Reid. I mean, I had to refresh my memory on this, Cuzzo. You know how long Andy Reid was a coach of Philly? I mean, he was
like 12 years.
He was a young man. He was 41 when he took over the Chiefs. I'm sorry, the Eagles. He was 41 in 1999 and was there from 99 to 2012. And you know that they went to the NFC title game. I'm not sure how many they went to
4 or 5 times, right?
Yeah, the NFC title game is the NFC champions in 2004. That was McNabb. I think that was with
Theo.
Yeah.
Yep.
But then with Kansas City, he started Kansas City in 2013. 11-5, 9-7, 11-5, 12-4, 10-6, 12-4, and then in 2019 Super Bowl champions, AFC champions in 2020, the pandemic year. Didn't get to the playoffs in 2021, Super Bowl champions 2022, AFC champions 2023, and now the Super Bowl. I mean, that guy has stamped himself as a 65-year-old in the Hall of Fame. It's crazy.
And I know this may sound crazy, though, Hood, but I think he's a better head coach than Belichick.
Understood.
I know Belichick has the rings, but he has had sustained success with multiple quarterbacks, from McNabb to Alex Smith and now with Mahomes. Whereas if you remove Brady from Belichick's record, he is below average as a coach. He doesn't have much as a head coach. As a defensive coordinator, excellent. But as a head coach without Brady, we don't even know who he is. He's probably out of the league without Brady.
I'm not going to disparage Bill Belichick because
I know, and that's fine. I'm comparing the two guys. I'm saying fine. If I'm comparing these two guys. To me, my preference would be an Andy Reid over a Bill Belichick.
Understood. I mean, we're talking about a guy that can't get a job now, Belichick. I mean, all these championships, and he can't even get a job in the league. So that says a lot. Yeah. I mean, Radio Raheem gets a job with Atlanta. And so think about it. Belichick went down to Atlanta. Was it Atlanta? I think he did go to Atlanta to try to get a job twice.
Yeah.
And couldn't. But Radio Raheem with the radio talking about do the right thing. Raheem Morris, he gets a job. So I thought that was it. So Andy Reid at his age, all three of Reid's Super Bowl titles have come since he was turned 60 years old. He's the fourth head coach in NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB history to win at least 3 championships at the age of 60 or older. He's with Casey Stengel, Bill Belichick, and Scotty Bowman for the NHL. I mean, he's doing this all in his 60s. And so, I mean, and a shout out to Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike, who sent me a lot of these stats here from ESPN. I'm fascinated because I like to see how the history works with Mahomes and Reid. Like, okay, are they great? And if they're great, how do you compare their greatness? And so you think about the age of Mahomes at 28, and he surpassed Jordan as far as, and you heard me, I think you might have heard me this morning talk about this.
I did.
Which is I thought was amazing. Yeah. Fastest to win 3 championship round MVPs.
Yeah.
Mahomes did it in 7 seasons, 3 championship round MVPs. It took 8 years for Magic. It took 8 years for Tim Duncan, 9 years for Michael. Now, Michael had the cocaine traveling circus.
Right.
So, I mean, you had to clean out Theus and Enos Swatley and that bullshit. You had to get Brad Sellers. All right, that's enough. Get those guys out of there. So now I can control Pippen, which he'll be part of the show in just a moment. And to control Pippen and Horace Grant and Bill Cartwright, who was a nice player for the Knicks, before Ewing got there. It's just kind of a cavalcade of a bunch of parts that work. And Jordan's like, I'm going to lead. Well, who was it? Orlando Woodridge. When Jordan was a rookie, Orlando Woodridge was meeting with the press because Orlando was the man. He was the man for the Bulls. And it's like, they got all the press was around. All right, Orlando, what do you think of this kid Jordan? What do you think? And Orlando looked over his shoulder, and he saw Jordan was the only one working out. He was the only one going up, dunking, take the ball, going up, dunking, take the ball, going up. And he looked over his shoulder, and Orlando was like, "Yeah, it's his team now." Just like that, right? He's like he just gave up because he saw Jordan working out. All the other guys was just trying to get to Rush Street at the time. They didn't put in the time that Jordan's putting in. And Orlando was like, I'm the dude, but that guy's a man now. I'm out of here, pretty much. So that's great. Some other thoughts here. Again, put your comments in. We're not doing super chats or humper chat, so we're not charging you for these yet. So come on in for free. And don't forget, just share and subscribe and like the video. That's all we're asking you to do. It's something so you're already here, so just like it. That's all we're asking for. All these other podcasts are asking you to pay for your comments. We're not doing that yet. So because Wiley could use a little change. That's the only reason why.
Right.
Mark checks in and says, how do you play for a third possession that isn't guaranteed? It makes no sense. Yeah. You're talking about the overtime period, right?
Yeah. Absolutely right.
He said he told the boys that the Niners should have gone for the touchdown in overtime because the field goal wouldn't matter. Is that crazy? No, it's not crazy.
No, it's right.
Here's the thing. Okay, it's Brock Purdy. Does Purdy get in there? Well, you got to find out on 4th down. You have to find out.
So, but here's the thing, though, Hood. Like Shanahan in the 4th quarter, he did that. He went for it on 4th down instead of settling for the field goal, and they scored a touchdown. So it wasn't like he didn't make a ballsy move at some point in the game. I was like, oh, this is un-Shanahan-like. He actually did something that was ballsy. But when the game was on the line, he was like, yeah, field goal. Yeah, so I thought that was, he lost his balls. Like he had them. I was like, oh, look at those. And then he lost them.
Chiefs have beaten the best with less talent. Hopefully, we'll be there one day. Talking about the Chicago Bears. Yeah, Curtis, we understand.
That's the blueprint.
We
just saw it.
So, just to put a bow on a lot of this. So, Mahomes wins twice on the road. Put the Dolphins to the side. They were going to beat the Dolphins because they were banged up and they weren't going to win that ball game. But because just think about it. The Chiefs were a 2.5-point underdog against the Bills on the road. A 4.5-point underdog against the Ravens on the road. A 1.5-point favorite against the 49ers in the Super Bowl. What I'm saying is that, similar to what Tom Brady had to go through, and Brady is a GOAT, there's no doubt, because the Patriots did not invest in wide receivers. They did not. Randy Moss was there, yes, but as far as like difference-making wide receivers that can stretch the field, they was like, here's Edelman, here's Wes Welker. And it's just kind of like, all right, those guys are fine because Brady had to make them. The revisionist history that's out there is like, oh, those receivers are pretty good. Well, Brady had to make those guys. Those guys were not all world. They were on the pressure cooker playing for the Patriots. You had to succeed or you get cut. Simple as that. Underwhelming receivers that Brady had to deal with. And he made them, just like they made Brady and Belichick. So, I mean, but what I guess my point is that look at what Mahomes had to deal with. Dude's dropping the ball. Remember that first game, September 7th? They lost against the Lions. We're like, Chiefs? What happened there? Like, I love Tony. Kadarius Toney's my dude. Like, all that shit, right? Just like, no, that guy's hurting you.
Yes.
And Mahomes were able to overcome either way. So, Curtis says the coaching and great in-game execution was the factors throughout the playoffs. There's no doubt about that. EC's checking in. Eric Collins says, good evening to us and Rocky. We'll see Rocky at the end of the show. He's been very good lately, by the way. Eric makes a good point. People thought that was the end for Andy Reid. After all that time, he was there such a long time. You thought at one point they can knock it down. And all we had is Chicago's own Donovan McNabb throwing up behind the line. You recall
a bad day for dark-skinned brothers.
Reid is much better at building relationships. Yeah, no question about it.
He is.
Belichick beats players down. Reid builds them up. There's no doubt about that, Mark. You don't have to be in Massachusetts or in Kansas City to know what's going on there, because that's how he is. Reid is a player's coach, and so is Matt Nagy, by the way. Officer friendly. There is no good cop, bad cop. When Bieniemy was there, that was daddy. When Bieniemy was there, because Mahomes would avoid Bieniemy, he'd go around him like 3 and outs. He'd go around and talk to Nagy, right? Because he knew daddy had the belt. Because Bieniemy was like that, man. He had the belt. He'd beat up Mahomes. Good cop, bad cop. Eric says that Reid and Mahomes are up there with Paul Brown, Otto Graham.
I love that.
Lombardi, Starr, the Bradshaw. Yeah.
I love that.
As far as the winning, let me see if I think there's a stat on that someplace. There's a stat for everything. Well, I mean, it's what we know. Most Super Bowl wins by head coach quarterback duo, Brady and Belichick with 6. Chuck Nolan, Terry Bradshaw with 4. Reid and Mahomes now have 3. Walsh and Montana have 3.
But Paul Brown and Otto Graham was before the Super Bowl era, and that was just about as good as it gets. I've seen some of those NFL films things on them, and that was about as good as it gets.
Okay, Cuzzo. So we've talked about that. We've got to get to this part of it. We're running low on time, so we got a number of things.
Let's get to it.
Okay, so could you tell me your thoughts on this? Some thoughts now on Alicia Keys showing up. And first of all, shout out to Usher. That's number one. Shout out to Usher. Because I had no idea that we would be getting Usher and Friends. I had no idea that he didn't know, because the build was, hey, you know what, we're going to see Usher out there. I'm like, okay, Usher and who? Usher can't do this by himself. I mean, he's a talented dude, but like him doing it by himself, I'm like, don't know if that is going to be happening. So what'd you think of the halftime show? That's the question.
So I thought the halftime show was done really well. Usher, showed that he was one of the great entertainers of the last 20 plus years with that performance. I was concerned about Swiss Beats and his wife, because Usher got really close, and I know that "Let It Burn" thing has an entirely different meaning when it comes to Usher these days.
So what does that mean?
I was concerned Alicia Keys may leave there with an STD. He was so close to her. So, but I got a question for you though, Hood. Like, he walked past her at one point dancing. He I don't know if he swiped her ass, but he was close to swiping her ass, and he smelled his finger. What do you think it smelled like?
All right, that'll be fine.
What do you think? What do you think it smelled like? What do you think? What do you think it smelled like?
Cheerios. How about that?
Cheerios.
Yes, Honey Nut Cheerios.
Honey Nut Cheerios.
Yes, but we have it available right now on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube and Facebook, and I'm sure if you watch it live, you saw a very strong embrace of Usher hugging Alicia Keys from behind.
At that moment, she's going to need some antibiotics.
Oh my God!
Antibiotics.
What is the matter with you? I mean, but here's the thing, though. As you mentioned, Swiss Beats, the husband of Alicia Keys, right? So what do you think he's thinking in that spot right there? And by the way, Alicia Keys, that's restaurant quality, right?
Yes, that is top shelf.
Yeah,
as you would say. I don't think he cares, because when you're that level of entertainer, you have to understand what the business is. So I don't think he took it personal, because that's his wife. He sees her, daily, in better ways than Usher's seeing her right now. So I don't think he had an issue with it. I wouldn't have had an issue with it as an entertainer, because you know what it is. And if you did have one, you would have to answer you privately. But when you saw Usher, you would whisper in his ear and tell him what you thought. But publicly, I wouldn't have an issue with it at all, because it's your wife. She's an entertainer. He's an entertainer. You kind of know what it is. So no big deal.
So you would have no problem with it. I mean, this is in front of 60 million people. This is not like Lala Vasquez on Power, where only a million people are watching. While Lala,
I would have had an issue with that. I would have had an issue with Lala more so than you're not getting paid enough to do all of that. I know Power isn't paying that much. So you're doing this for maybe 5 figures. So I got an issue with that.
Wait, hold on a second. Are you saying 50 Cent is cheap? What are you saying there?
I'm saying that Power wasn't grossing enough for 50 to pay Lala enough, whereas her husband, I would have been, comfortable with doing Black History Month for a white man to be having sex with my wife on television. As a black man doing Black History Month, that would have rubbed me the wrong way. But no, I'm being serious. All jokes aside, that isn't that wasn't enough for her to take her clothes off. And when she did that as her husband, I was like, you're for the streets. You're for the streets. Can't do it.
As far as the show is concerned, like I said, I did not expect so many different acts out there with Usher. I mean,
it's great.
Let me say, it's on CBS. It was going to be safe. It's Usher, right? So it's going to be fine. We got her, underrated, by the way. I wish my favorite Prince was still alive. Imagine what Prince could do with her. She the way she plays the guitar, I think we've even scratched the surface with what she could do with the guitar. I think she's fantastic.
Yeah. Now, do you think Prince would be out there with assless chaps today?
Yeah.
Because that was such a, back then that was such a power move, where here's this guy with this guitar with high heels and assless chaps and every woman alive they're throwing themselves at him. Like he can go anywhere and get whatever woman he wants. He can have them, and you're like, man, I can't pull that off. If I wear assless chaps, I may find something that I don't want in my chaps.
Be careful with your chaps. You don't want something in your chaps. That's exactly right.
But Prince, he was, that was a bad man. That was a bad man.
If you have not gone to our the Hood audience, let me tell you, go to see Prince's compound. Go to the tour right outside of Minneapolis. Peacock and I went, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It's really cool. Think about Home Depot. Now think about being in 4 Home Depots. That's how big his house is. The recording studio, along with the stuff that he wore, it's like a museum, a Prince museum. It's really dope. As someone who loves Prince, that loved his music from back in the day, and I'm sure he still has more music that's been unreleased, that hasn't been released by his people yet. It was great to see. It's a great, off the expressway, you see it there. It's a huge place. I really enjoy myself there. So we got Luda, strange outfit. Lil Jon. Is Lil Jon swole now? Did you notice the arms a little bigger?
I did. I saw that.
The aforementioned Alicia Keys. We'll just leave her up.
Just leave that there. Yeah, just leave it.
Who, Doctor? Will.i.am, who is already odd anyway, but then the outfit.
I thought that was Kanye for a second.
Everyone said that. People thought, did you sneak Kanye in the Super Bowl?
Yeah. But I didn't hear like any anti-Semitic remarks, so I realized it wasn't Kanye. Like, that's not Kanye.
I thought, okay, you're trying to sneak Kanye in there because all you see him now is in a mask. He looks like a luchador. He looks like a wrestler. He only wears the mask. He's got his Kim K lookalike that is his girlfriend, wife. I'm not even sure. But no, it's Will.i.am. Jermaine Dupri.
Yeah.
Unk.
Yes.
He's there. And then there's Usher. I was like, you know what? This is a real, nice group of people helping out Usher. Usher goes from dancing to roller skate like he's in Markham.
Yes.
Yes. He's there. Yes. He's at the roller skate place on 87th. And by the way, no slips. That dude is he is awesome with choreography. I'm glad he got his flowers.
He did. I thought it was a great performance. I love the people he brought out. I thought it was done really well. And shout out to Hove. Since he has taken over the halftime entertainment, I think it's been done really well every single year. Even last year with Rihanna out there with a baby, she still killed it with a baby. So I think he's done a really good job, and they're bringing a lot of different eyes to the halftime show. And I'm not saying the past was bad, because there are people who still want to see the Who, in those acts. But I think seeing something different is good. I think this is a more youthful approach than what we would normally see in the past with a lot of the entertainment. So I think it's refreshing.
Sorry, man, I got to change the picture. And again, we'll take your comments on the halftime show. Sorry, she's got to go, because I want to ask you about Taylor Swift, as she was there as well. Your thoughts on Taylor Swift, because she's there and she's having a fun time with Raggedy Ann. Ice Spice. So Ice Spice is up in the box.
I just start hearing the sun will come out tomorrow. For some reason, I don't know. It just popped in my head. I can't tell you why the spirit moved me to start singing that.
Black Annie. But you're saying she's black.
That was Annie, right? All day long. So we talked about this a little bit last time. I started off believing that it was just for show, but I think it's genuine. But I also think it's going to end, because really soon, when I heard Travis Kelce, say he was going to come back for next year to three-peat, as he said those words, her face changed, almost to the point she wanted to cry, because he said he was coming back. And I appreciated that man put his foot down and did what's best for him instead of some woman he's dating right now. So yeah, that too. So it's a family show, so I was trying not to go there, but yeah.
Is it a family show? Wiley, is it a family?
It's a family show.
Really?
Yeah, it's a family show. Kids want to hear the truth. That Tay Tay is
banging Travis. Yes.
Yes. And now with Travis wanting to come back, and she probably wanted him to maybe tour a little bit with her. That hurt her a little bit, but she seemed to be genuinely happy for him. She seemed to be genuinely the emotions were genuine. So from that standpoint, as a fan, and even as a man, I appreciate seeing that from a woman, that a woman is there supporting her guy, and she's emotionally invested in the way that she was. So good for her, good for her music, because I'm sure once it's over, she's wanting to make even better music from this experience, because it seemed like one of those genuine love experiences for her. So hopefully she can make some good music from that, and instead of 1 billion, maybe 2 billion will be in her account because of this Travis Kelce experience. And hopefully Travis Kelce can pocket a few dollars from this experience as well, because the Tay Tay people, those Swifties, they love the Chiefs now.
This is not transactional from his standpoint. He's not.
It isn't.
Well, he's not making any money off of this. I mean, what are you talking about? Like, he's not making any money. This is good for two things. It's good for the NFL, because there's more eyeballs than ever, because little girls and women and Taylor Swift fans that are not into football watch just to get a glimpse of her. That's one.
Yes.
And two, it's good for Taylor Swift, because now football fans that were not into Taylor Swift are interested in her music. And so I think it's a win for both Taylor Swift and the NFL. Travis Kelce, well, I think we know what he's getting out of it. I think it's pretty. I mean, he's getting. I mean, you know what he's getting out of it. But I'd prefer. Anyway,
there was red lipstick somewhere that I can't say after Super Bowl last night. But that Taylor Swift red lipstick was stuck somewhere.
We go to the comments now. Some thoughts. Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, so yes, indeed, Raggedy Ann was out there, or Annie, if you will.
Yeah.
We thought that it was Kanye, and people thought that Jermaine Dupri indeed was CeeLo, according to Mark.
Yes. He is.
Yes.
He's really short.
Yes.
And he has been eating a lot. You can't be that short and be that wide. And just to think, not long ago, he had Janet Jackson. Like Janet Jackson was, doing whatever Janet Jackson does with him. Like, things have changed. Things have changed for him. Hopefully he can get that versus with Diddy, and get back to who he once was. But yeah, he is taking a step in the wrong direction. I just saw him maybe like 3 years ago, so he hasn't left the table in 3 years. Like you gotta, like you cannot be 5'1" and 300 pounds. That's a bad look at 5'1". You can't be 5'1", 300 pounds. That doesn't work at all.
You can if you're the Penguin.
Yes.
Where's the Penguin? Absolutely, you can. Curtis thinks that Usher's performance was top 10. I gotta look at it. I mean, I think that I could put him in the 10. I would agree that Prince would playing Purple Rain in the rain in Miami.
Why was it fucking raining?
Yes.
Yes. That's when you know. That's when you knew God was a Prince fan. Like, there was no questions about it. When it's raining, he starts Purple Rain, and then the skies open up and was like, there's rain. You knew at that point. You're like, yep, God loves Prince. Or the symbol.
It is no doubt about that. All right, a couple of news and notes that we got to get to as well. This came in right before we hit record on this. A couple of things. First, from BSO, and we should invite Robert Littal on. If you don't know who Robert Littal is, he's from Black Sports Online, BSO. He's been in the news, like sports adjacent with, Hollywood news, but it still has something to do with sports. Talking about, this is on his Twitter, talking about how Kim Kardashian confirmed how her relationship with Odell Beckham Jr. These two are a thing now. I mean, so, and he also mentions that her sister Khloe Kardashian, got cheated on 49 times by Tristan Thompson. So, but the point is though, is that this is what we got, Cuzzo. Odell and Kim Kardashian. I know Odell was hanging on by a string in the NFL, but this will be all.
That's it. His career is over. Now, and shout out to Kim because she is about 44, 45. Odell's maybe like 33, 34. She must have like some Hall of Fame, things she's working with because.
What do you mean? What things?
Yeah, just she's a Hall of Fame, a Hall of Fame lay, because
you mean when you go to Hawaii? You mean like June Jones? I mean June Jones, the old coach of Hawaii, or a lay?
But she gets them all, and not just gets them all. She locks them down. But to your point, yeah, his career is over. Like I wouldn't sign him. I wouldn't have him near my team because once a Kardashian get their fangs in you, that'll be all. That will definitely be all. It's over. That's it. Drive safely. Beep beep.
I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, I don't get it, man. Like I know what I'm getting with her. Like just to say that you're dating Odell. Okay, so I mean, as Mark says, what comes after the sloppy seconds? A story for the podcast?
Yeah. Yeah, that's restaurant quality right there.
Yes, it is.
Restaurant quality.
So we got that story that they're dating. And then, of course, the news of news. We come to find out an hour ago, according to People magazine, that Larsa Pippen and Marcus Jordan are no longer a thing, that they have broken up.
You know what? This is that's history, and history was just made today. You realize that, right? This is the first Pippen that didn't get a ring with a Jordan. First Pippen, no rings from a Jordan. That is history. History was made today, and good for him. And this is no disrespect to anyone who is 50 or approaching 50 or even over 50. There's a lot of great-looking women that age. But if I am in my early 30s and you are 50 years old,
yeah,
it's not a good look. That doesn't age well. Maybe, for that next year or two, things are still fine. But, gravity's going to take its toll. And I'm still going to be in my 30s. And in my 30s, when gravity takes its toll, I'm not going to be interested in a 50-plus-year-old person in my space. So unless you're going to sleep in a spare room and my girlfriend is going to sleep in my room, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. So, yeah. The work, she can have as much work as she wants done. Father Time is undefeated unless you're Dolly Parton. So
Dolly.
Father Time's undefeated. Dolly Parton has the best plastic surgeons that money can buy. So outside of that, Father Time is undefeated. So I would have no interest in that as a 33-year-old man or early 30s man. So he did what he did. I'm sure Scotty is hurt, but it is. It's the first Pippen that did not get a ring with the Jordan. So that tells you, maybe Future is available still. So maybe he can go back and, do what he did.
Okay. Well, we've run out of time here. So Rocky. Let's bring Rocky into the show. I'd like to remind you, there's Rocky.
Yeah. Sit.
Would you like to read what Curtis has to say about you? Can you see that? Cuzzo, can you see what Curtis is saying?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm just saying the surgery she has is great. I'm not saying I would. I'm saying the surgery she has it's been great. She's like 90, and her surgeries,
not
aged well with her.
She's
she's close. She's close.
So you would hit that, huh?
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't think she even has enough money for me to even consider it.
I was just trying to see what your standards were. So you're saying you wouldn't do anything with Dolly Parton? Okay, at least I know.
I mean, there's the price for everything, Hood. You realize that, right?
Oh yes.
Everything else is just a negotiation, But no, I don't think she has enough to make me interested in doing that.
I'm going to Peoria on Wednesday for the Flames. When you win 2 games in a row, you know what that's called? That's called
a streak.
A streak, yes. Flames have won 2 in a row. That we are going to Bradley on the 14th. So, do you have any tips for me in Peoria? You've been through there. Any tips?
Stay off the roads late at night.
Well, I'll try. Rocky, your thoughts on the Blackhawks? Would you stop showing that, for God's sake? Oh my God!
Sit.
Okay.
Nope. Sit.
Okay.
Sit.
You know what? Again, only temporary discipline for Rocky. So for our mascot Rocky and for Cuzzo Wiley, this is Jay Hood. Thanks so much for checking out the podcast. We'll be with you next week. Rocky, your thoughts on the Bulls? Anything? Bulls? Rocky?
Terrible. He wants to cover his eyes. It's that bad.
So long, everybody. Thanks so much. Like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Thank you so much. And I will, Mark and Curtis. Yes. Thanks so much for checking it out. So long. Get off the couch now. Get off the couch. He's giving you 5. He's doing tricks. My God, man. Like a Harlem Globetrotter.